Hola, ¿cómo estás? Ahora vas a tomar unos apuntes sobre el uso de los verbos ser y estar, los dos verbos que significan to be en español. Just a quick note, if you have a packet of skeletal notes in front of you, the expectation is that you fill out the packet. If you do not, the expectation is that you write down on your own the information that you believe will be useful to you to help you remember what you need to know. So what information you think you're going to need to have as a quick reference as you go through the rest of this unit and the rest of the year, okay? I also do want to apologize quickly if you happen to hear music or any yelling in the background. I'm at the Taekwondo studio, but I want to make sure that I have this done for you on time, okay? So, vamos a empezar, y ser y estar son dos verbos que típicamente son irregulares. Ser, el primer verbo, es irregular en los tres tiempos verbales que ya debes saber. Así, es importante que escribas las conjugaciones de estos verbos. En el presente, ser se conjuga yo soy, I am, tú eres, you are, él, ella o usted es, he or she is or you are, nosotros somos, we are, vosotros sois, you all are, and ellos or ustedes son, they are or you all are. And el pretérito, which is the verb tense we use to talk about things that happened once in the past, the conjugations are yo fui, I was, tú fuiste, you were, él, ella or usted fue, he or she was or you were, formal. Nosotros fuimos, we were. Vosotros fuisteis, you all were, only in España. And ellos or ustedes fueron, they or you all were. Para el imperfecto, which is the past tense that we use to talk about things that happened repeated times or more than once, we have yo era, I was. Tú eras, you were. Él, ella or usted era, he or she was or you were. Nosotros éramos, we were. Vosotros erais, you all were in España. And ellos or ustedes eran, they were or you all were. Now these are here for you to have as a quick reference. Now, some of you may recall a mnemonic device that some of us used in Spanish 2, Español 2, to help you remember which verb which verb ser or estar to use and when to use it. And if you have the skeletal notes, you'll find this at the bottom of la primera página. And the mnemonic device that we use for the word ser, for the verb ser, is doctor. De stands for description. La primera O es for origin or where someone's from. Se for characteristic. Te for time. The second O for occupation or someone's job. And R for relationships. And so once you have those down, we are going to go and do a few examples. And I would recommend that if you need to see that visual example especially, that you write it down as well for yourself. Okay? For description, we're talking about description cuando usamos ser. We're talking about usually general traits. So it can be something that's a description like you're describing a large group of people or a larger building, for example, but something that's not a really specific trait that describes a specific individual or a specific place, okay? So we do have two descriptions here regarding FHS, Framingham High, and you'll notice that they're kind of, general. If we were really going to describe FHS in detail, these are not necessarily the things we would say, but we have la escuela secundaria de FHS es muy grande. Es una escuela con una población diversa. So I would advise that you write down both the Spanish and, if it's going to help you to remember, the English translations. So we have Framingham, the high school of Framingham High is very big. It is a school with a diverse population. And of course, if we wanted to get into more detail, we could, but description fairly general, but still tells us a little bit about FHS. Origen, or where someone is from, origin. So, la señora, in other words, me, I, es de Chicago. ¿De dónde son ustedes? I'm originally from Chicago. I currently live in Framingham, and I've lived in Framingham for over 15 years. But Chicago, the suburbs of Chicago, is originally where I'm from. So when you're talking about an origin question, you're not necessarily talking about where you live now. You're definitely talking about where you are originally from. Characteristics are more specific. So when we're talking about characteristics, we're really talking about traits that are very specific. Sorry, got to shift around in the hallway a bit here to let someone through. We're very specific to a certain group of people or a certain individual or a certain place. She said the description is more general, characteristic is more specific. So if I'm talking, for example, about your class, something I could say is los estudiantes son trabajadores. The students are hardworking. Es un grupo que hace muchas preguntas y siempre quiere aprender más. So it's a group that always asks a lot of questions and always wants to learn more. Could I go into more detail about your class, of course, once I get to know all of you a little better? Absolutely. But by the same token, it tells me a little more about your class, and it's like, oh, it's a group of 16 students, and they're in Spanish 3 honors or Spanish 3 ACP. Okay, so a little more detail. Second to last one, the fourth one, third to last one for this is time, and many of you may be doing this on miércoles el 11 de septiembre. So we have es miércoles el 11 de septiembre, son las 9:15 de la mañana. So it is Wednesday, September 11th, and it is 9:15 in the morning. We always use ser when we're discussing time. Keep that in mind, a conjugation of ser. The last two for ser, occupation, so your job, whether it's permanent or temporary. La señora es profesora de español, and that is definitely my occupation. I've been at this for almost 20 years now. Ustedes son estudiantes. Right now, it's your job. Probably not your permanent occupation, but right now, that is your job. It is your occupation. And finally, we use ser to describe relationships between other people, whether or not those relationships are temporary or permanent. The ones I describe here on this slide are permanent, okay, and talks about my family, my parents, and my siblings. So mis padres son Raz and Seth. My parents are Raz and Seth. Yo soy su hija. I am their daughter. También Sarah y Noah son mis hermanos menores. Also, Sarah and Noah are my younger siblings. Make sure you have this information down and ask me if you have questions or something is unclear to you before moving on to estar. If you have the skeletal notes, we start with estar on the top of página 3. You need to make sure that you know how to conjugate the verb estar en el presente, el pretérito, y el imperfecto. In the conjugations in el presente, make sure you have the accents for these present tense conjugations especially. Yo estoy, I am. Tú estás, you are. Él, ella, or usted está, he or she is or you are. Nosotros estamos, we are. Vosotros estáis, you all are in Spain. And ellos or ustedes están, they are or you all are. En el pretérito, for things that happen once, we don't often use estar en el pretérito, or ser that often. Ser more often than estar, but really not estar all that often. Yo estuve, I was. Tú estuviste, you were. Él, ella, usted estuvo, he or she was or you were. Nosotros estuvimos, we were. Vosotros estuvisteis, you all were. And ellos or ustedes estuvieron, they were or you all were. And once again, remember that the vosotros form is only used in Spain. Finalmente, tenemos el imperfecto. So for the imperfecto, which is the repeated actions or things that happened on a regular basis, we have yo estaba, I was. Tú estabas, you were. Él, ella, usted estaba, he or she was or you were. Nosotros estábamos, we were. Vosotros estabais, you all were. And ellos or ustedes estaban, they were or you all were. And once again, estabais, the vosotros form only used in Spain. Now we also have a mnemonic device that we use for to help us remember what we use when we use estar. So the one we use for this is pelt. So the P stands for present progressive. For example, ahora ustedes están escribiendo apuntes. Right now you are all writing notes. That's the P. E is emotions, L is location, and T is temporary. So make sure that you get those down. If you have the skeletal notes especially on página 3, before moving on to the examples. To finish up here, you want to make sure you have information on cuando usamos estar. Start off with el presente progresivo, which you should have done in Spanish 2 last year. Asking the questions, for example, ¿qué están haciendo ahora? What are they doing now? Or depending on how you read it, what are you all doing now? If you look at the answer, it should make it a little clearer that the question is being asked within ustedes. And the answer is nosotros estamos escribiendo apuntes sobre ser y estar. We are writing notes about ser y estar. Emotion. ¿Cómo estás tú hoy? How are you today? Hoy yo estoy feliz y emocionada. Today I am happy and excited. Be aware that yes, you can use ser with words like feliz y triste, but if you use a conjugation of ser with those verbs, it means that you're saying, if I were to say, for example, yo soy feliz, it would mean I'm always happy. If I were to say yo soy triste, it would mean I'm always sad. It's part of my personality, like saying I'm a happy person or I'm a sad person. Using a star is much more specific to how you're feeling at a specific time and not a permanent trait. For location, is the LA. So our example here, la escuela de FHS está en la calle A in Framingham. El centro comercial está en Natick. So FHS is on A Street in Framingham, and the mall is in Natick. So a star for location, location. This is location whether it's where you are now, or where a building is located permanently, or where a site is located permanently. Location is always a star. And finally, we have temporary. So for temporary, we have anything that is not permanent, or that we consider to be not permanent, including some pretty interesting, states of being in certain cases. But we have, ahora yo estoy cansada, today I am tired. And other examples, estás tú enfermo hoy, are you sick today? So once again, things that are not necessarily permanent, and that you'll be dealing with, on and off probably throughout your life, I guess. So that's it. You'll have some practice activities, and if you have additional questions, make sure that you check with me. You'll also grab a copy of the tarea when you are done. Gracias.